Torah Resource is made possible through the generous donations of people like you. If you would like to help us continue to produce this kind of material, please consider making a donation at TorahResource.com.
Shalom, here we are at the last Torah portion of the book of Genesis, and I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 48 today in the NASB 95, talk a little bit about Jacob's adoption of Joseph's two sons born in Egypt, and then we're going to look a little bit at a Dead Sea Scroll fragment from this chapter as well. So beginning in chapter 48, it says, "Now it came about after these things that Joseph was told, 'Behold, your father is sick.' So he took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, with him. And when it was told to Jacob, 'Behold, your son Joseph has come to you,' Israel collected his strength and sat up in the bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph, 'God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. And he said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and numerous. I will make you a company of peoples, and I will give this land to your descendants after you for an everlasting possession. Now your two sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, as Reuben and Shimon are. But your offspring that have been born after them shall be yours. They shall be called by the names of their brothers in their inheritance. Now as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died to my sorrow in the land of Canaan on the journey, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, 'Who are these?' Joseph said to his father, 'They are my sons, whom God has given me here.' So he said, 'Bring them to me, please, that I may bless them.' Now the eyes of Israel were so dim from age that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them close to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. Israel said to Joseph, 'I never expected to see your face, and behold, God has let me see your children as well.' Then Joseph took them from his knees and bowed with his face to the ground." And it continues on. We learn at how Israel put his right hand over Ephraim, the secondborn, but his left hand over Manasseh, signifying that Ephraim had the place of the elder brother. And of course, Joseph protests this. There are two important things that we learn in the picture here is the father's prerogative for adoption. So he doesn't ask Joseph's opinion. Jacob merely says, "These are mine. They belong to me. And they will have a special inheritance in the land according to the promise that God has blessed me with," Jacob says to Joseph. So that's the first move. The first move is Jacob's claim, assertion, that these two boys belong to him. And secondly, he puts Ephraim above Manasseh. And now Joseph doesn't seem to protest the first assertion by Jacob that these two boys now belong to him. He doesn't seem to protest at all. No evidence of that in the text. The protest is on the second assertion of Israel's putting Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. And Israel just says, I know, but this is the way it's going to be. And this is no different than what we learn, for example, when the Lord tells Abraham to offer as an olah, a burnt offering, his son Isaac. And of course, Abraham obeys and goes, and it is reckoned as if he has offered his son Isaac to the Lord. And the Lord says, "You have not withheld your son from me." And of course, as an olah, it means that Isaac belongs to God, not to Abraham. Isaac belongs to God. In the same way here, we see the prerogative of the father to assert adoption status, to assert membership. Membership in the people of God is a sovereign declaration by the Father without consultation. without asking an opinion, without any questionnaire or any other kind of qualification required other than the utterance of the Father. So while this is true with Jacob/Israel over Joseph's two sons, this is true of God the Father and claiming those who belong to him. And as Paul says, if you belong to Yeshua, then you are heirs according to the promise, and you're children of Abraham, heirs according to the promise. So the question is, who are heirs? Who are members? Who belong? That belonging in the people of God is not determined by committee. It's not determined by submission to some sort of rabbinical court. It's not determined by some pastor letting you know whether you're in or not. No, it's not a function of what rules you keep. It is a function solely of the assertion of the Father. That is a crucial picture that we see unfolding here. Now, with that in mind, I want to just share a little bit. If I did this right, we can do a split screen. And we have in the Dead Sea Scrolls this fragment here from Cave 4. It's called, it's 4Q6 if you want to look it up. It's just a little fragment like this. You can see it's highly damaged. Of course, no vowel points. But it's a nice photograph we have here online from the Dead Sea Scrolls website. And we have a super photograph here that helps those letters pop from the parchment a little bit better here. And what we're looking at is just a section here from Genesis 48. And I want to just show you just a few things. You see here, for example, this is a good place to look if you've had a little bit of Hebrew. Oops. Sorry, it's kind of squirreling on me there. This is the phrase. We see the end of the word Shimon. So if you see here, it says, Veshimon Yehuli. So the whole phrase is Kil Uvein. So just as Reuben, Veshimon, and Simeon, Yehuli, they will be mine. They will be mine, referring to Ephraim and Manasseh. And we see here the end of the word Shimon. You can see that this is a partial mem. We can see the ayin here and a vav and a nun sofit, and then yod, hey, yod, vav, lamed yod, yehu li. And that's precisely what we see preserved in the Masoretic text. Now, there are some variances here. It's really tightly, in a lot of ways, similar, but it's a defective copy from the manuscript tradition that we call of the Masorah. But I'll just show a couple of places where we can track. So do you see here at the end, we see va'ani, and I. So that's this va'ani here. Bevo'i mi padan, in my returning from Padan. So va'ani, and we go over here, we see some missing letters here, but we know what it is. It's two bets. And possibly a vav, but we don't know. The tradition in the Masorah has a cholim here, bevo'i mipadan. And that's what we see here, from Padan. And then it says, meta alai Rachel. So the word Rachel is missing. We see the lamed of the name Rachel, but it's meta alai Rachel. And this is translated, Rachel died to my sorrow, or alai could be because of me, on account of me. It's a little bit of a mystery as to what this alai really means in terms of whether he's taking Rachel's death as his own, somehow his own fault. And some would suggest that back when she had stolen the teraphim from Laban, that Jacob didn't know that she had stolen those, but said that person will die. That's a possible reading here. But nevertheless, it says, Be'eretz Canaan. So she died, Be'eretz Canaan. And then Baderek Ba'od Kivrat Eretz. So this is quite an interesting phrase, but you see here, Baderek, and then probably Ba'od, Bet Ayin Vav Dalet, but you can see it's pretty crumbly. That's probably where while still. And then we just have a jumble here, sadly, due to the just time and deterioration here. But it's probably something like a Kivrat Eretz, but it looks like maybe Kivrata Eretz. It's not exactly tracking with the Masoretic that we see below. And then we see Lavo. Oops. So Lavo, that is here, Lavo. Now it's spelled in full, so that is the Vav here is functioning in the same way that this Cholam of Lavo is to enter Ephrata. Now it's at this point that the scribe of whether he was writing from memory or if he was copying from another text, he skipped and went right to he Beit Lachem, which is Bethlehem, and that's here, he Beit Lachem. But what he skipped was, and I buried her there, but Derek Ephrath, on the way of the path of Ephrath. So what it seems to have happened is that the scribe got to Lavo Ephrata, and he looked away and he looked back and he started copying from here. He Beit Lachem, which is Bethlehem. And so in this manuscript, the Qumran manuscript, nothing about her burial at all. There's no phrase here that he buried her. And so that's, this happens in the scribal world. Words can be skipped, especially when you have Ephrata and Ephrat. They look a lot alike. And so when the eye looks away and looks back, you can easily make that mistake if you're not being super diligent. Then we continue on here. Vayar Israel et bnei Yosef. Israel saw the sons of Joseph. Vayomer mi ele. And he said, who are these? So here we see Vayar, and he saw. Continuing down, you can kind of make out Israel here. It's kind of, damaged, but you can see the Israel. Et bnei Yosef, the sons of Joseph, Vayomer mi ele. Who are these? So it's tracking really nicely here. Vayomer Yosef el Aviv. Now the Masoretic tradition has, and Joseph said to his father, Banai Haim. Well, notice here, Vayomer Yosef Banai. No, to my father, or to his father. That's missing. This is just the word Haim. It looks kind of weird, but that top mem is flaked off, but it's a mem sofit. Asher natan li Elohim bazeh. These are my sons whom Elohim has given me here. So you can see really nicely here. Asher natan li Elohim. Asher natan li Elohim. Tracks really nicely with the Masoretic tradition. And it goes on. I won't go through the whole thing. You can go online and study this for yourself. One other variance I'll show you, though. It says, Ve'enai Yisrael, or Ve'enei Yisrael, pardon me, and the eyes of Israel, kavdu, were heavy mizoken, lo yuchal lirot. They were heavy from age. He was not able to see. The only difference we see here is that we see it's mizikna. So it's got a different noun here for the word for age with a hey at the end, slightly different. And one other difference is that in this manuscript, and he hugged them and kissed them, whereas in Hebrew it's vayishach lahem, vaychabek lahem, and he kissed them and he hugged them. So this manuscript has those two actions, the kissing and the hugging, in the opposite order that we have from the Masoretic tradition. So again, with just this fragment from Cave 4 of this section of Genesis 48, there's a number of things we don't know. We don't know, was this part of an entire book of Genesis, or was it just a section that happens to contain Genesis 48? We don't know. Was it copied from memory? We don't know. Or from another copy? Was it dictated? That is, was someone reading and a scribe was copying? We don't know. But there are a few things I thought would be cool to point out. Now, according to the Dead Sea Scroll website, they date this to the Hasmonean era. I think that's or I don't think it's that old. And I'll show you why. One particular reason is because of all the consistency of the Sophite letters. A really neat feature of this fragment, even though it's so small, we get to see all 5 Sophite letters being employed. The big one you probably noticed is the Mem Sophite, right? Benachalatam, in their inheritance. See that nice Mem there? Right there. Do you see the Mem Sophite here? There's a number of Mem Sophite. It's kind of jumpy. V'avrachem, I will bless them. Do you see that Mem Sophite? Here's another Mem Sophite. So Mem we see all over the place. How about a Nun Sophite? Well, if you remember where we saw Asher Natan li Elohim, look at that, Natan. Do you see that? That is a Nun Sophite. Now, it might not be quite as long as we're used to now, but that's a Nun Sophite. So Asher Natan li Elohim, we have a Nun Sophite and a Mem Sophite. As far as the Pei Sophite, we see it in the name Yosef. So here we go, B'nai Yosef. See how that Pei goes down? I think there's some other Pei Sophites. Every time we see Yosef, for sure, we see that Pei that drops down here in the lower left, Yosef. So the Pei Sophite, Mem Sophite, Nun Sophite. We have a Tzadi Sophite, if you see when it talks about Rachel's death, Be'eretz Canaan. Notice that. So it's Bet Aleph Resh Tzadi Sophite. See that Tzadi Sophite? Canaan, Kaf, Nun, Ayin, Nun Sophite. So what are we missing here? Oh, a Kaf Sophite. Baderek. There's our Kaf Sophite for on the way. Baderek. So we see a Kaf, a Nun, a Tzadi, a Mem, and a Pei. So this fragment, as small as it is, and as you know, it's fragmented, it's damaged, and we don't know a lot about the context. It's got some errors in the copying. However, we can look at the scribal style that integrated seemingly fully the 5 final forms, which in my view were instituted after the time of the Maccabees, not during. Now, can that be proven? No, but we do know that we have many other famous scrolls, particularly the Isaiah scroll, where the Sophite letters sometimes are used and sometimes are not used. And so as a standard rule, the Sophite letters here are during the Second Temple period coming into standard scribal convention. And at least with the fragment that we see here, it's consistent that the 5 final forms are used. Mipadan, there was another one when I came from Padan. So Mem from, Pei, there's a regular Pei to differentiate from the Pei Sophite that we see with Yosef, Dalet, and then a short little Nun Sophite. So there's just some nice intel that we can gather from the Dead Sea Scrolls, not about the that this is a true version of the text. This is a copy with errors and things missing and word order switched around. But nevertheless, we can still learn from a historical perspective some valuable lessons with respect to chronology and the development of Jewish scribal culture. So I hope these points today are going to contribute to your discussions and appreciation of our Torah portion and the preservation of the scriptures more broadly. Shalom.